I'm Allie. It's fine, your mic cut out anyway. We couldn't hear it.
Sorry.
Oh my gosh, you guys have been muted this whole time, actually, so we're gonna have to do that again.
Oh, okay.
It's
Allie,
fine. I'm sorry, this one's my fault.
can they
I
hear us
fucked it
now?
up. They can hear us now, yeah. Hi.
Hi.
Let's do that again. Hello, and welcome to the Herondale Boy Support Group. I'm Melanie,
I'm Allie.
And I'm Ginny.
There we go.
and we are maybe here to
We're
help if we
trying
can
to
get
help.
our technical
trying to help.
difficulties together.
Have to help ourselves first.
Listen, every time I relog into OBS, it unhides all the things that I usually hide. So usually I can see y'all's voices and my voice in the same thing, but I couldn't. So I was unable to see that it was muted because, yeah, I'm blaming this one on
Listen,
OBS.
is it a stream that involves the two of you without technical difficulties? No.
Nah,
No.
of course not. We've been doing this for years, but there's so many moving parts. And it's
There
always a struggle.
are! Too many.
Too many.
You gotta set up the
There's-
stream, you gotta set up make sure it's connected to Twitch, you gotta set it to OBS, you gotta make sure that you're,
All three of us are in here, yeah, connected. And so many moving parts. So we
Great.
appreciate
We're
Ellie
doing a
for
great job.
moderating all these moving
Taking it
parts.
one step at a time.
yeah,
Yeah.
Allie does her best. Allie does their best,
Allie is doing her best.
Yep.
Yay.
We're all doing our best out here.
We are doing our
Living
best.
life. We're trying. There's a lot of moving parts in life too.
So
all
many
the time.
moving parts, all the time. How's life been? It's been a bit. How's everybody?
It's been, same old. Going to work, doing this on my days off.
Yeah.
As you do.
I mean, both of us fell a little bit sick at different points at some point during those past few whatever. So I know we missed a week or two, or I don't even know how many years it's been now.
27
It's been
years.
84 years.
84 years.
Yeah.
Since our last podcast.
Throw his heart of the
It's
ocean
so
into
long.
the ocean.
Which hasn't really. Did we?
It hasn't been so long, but
I think it's only been.
It feels like so long.
It feels like so long because we were supposed to do a makeup. But then I think we
were
just
supposed to do
skipped
an
the
episode
makeup.
last week, and then we skipped it. So now we're back on our regular schedule.
Right. Ginny and I were.
I think we are.
Not feeling it. We were struggle bussing.
I get a text in the morning and being like, "Hey, would you be mad at us if we canceled today?" And I was like, "What are you gonna do? What am I gonna do? Be mad at you for you being sick?"
It's fine.
Yeah.
I definitely hadn't left bed until like 11.
Yeah.
And then we had a big day the day before, and then we had a big day the day after, and it was just it was a whole thing.
A whole thing. But
I've
yeah,
just been
we're
here.
all glad to be here in good spirits together.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to miss because we're sitting on the whispering room, but okay. I guess
Ginny was
we're
like,
not.
whispering room.
I texted them when they canceled last week. I was like, I guess I have to be screaming, crying, throwing up, and almost missing my flight for just another week.
Exactly. Listen,
Pretty
Ginny would have
much.
full on missed the flight if it was the whispering room that she was in the middle of.
Right?
Because it's
Wow.
James, her boy.
It is her boy.
It's funny. Melanie and I were talking yesterday about some ideas we were going through, and we were talking about Shadowhunter ships and couples in general. And Melanie was like, what's your favorite ship from this series?" And I was like, "Well, or I was like, kind of being vague about it, and then I was like, "Well, actually, shouldn't it be obvious? It's James and me, duh."
Yeah, no, because I originally asked if it was James and Cordelia, because James.
Yeah.
She goes, "No, I like them, but they're not like, crying, screaming, throwing up, I love them kind of thing." And then you said it was James and me, and I was like, "You're right."
Yeah,
Exactly.
obviously.
Ginny was like, James is my Valentine this year.
"Uh-huh."
I'll have Jace.
Absolutely.
Listen, I want
And
Dilf
Allie
era
can have
Will.
Will.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, Dad era Will. is what Allie would say.
Exactly. Listen, I'm into it.
Sorry,
No
Tessa.
shame. Bye, Tessa.
Tessa Hoomst.
Tessa Hoomst. Don't know her. But anyway, we have a lot to get into this week because these books are getting longer, which means their
They are
summaries are
getting
longer.
long.
So, Ginny, drink some water, drink some
We're gonna
tea,
have
take
to
a deep
read
breath.
more chapters each part.
Mm-hmm. Preparing.
Drink some water,
I
hydrate.
am gonna drink some water during this, and I'm gonna do my best to entertain you all with my long summary.
I believe in you.
You got
And,
this.
all right. So we are starting out with chapters 15 through 19 of Chain of Gold. Continuing the saga, we're now in it. So if you haven't read chapters 15 through 19, or if you're going to, you're interested, don't want any spoilers, this is your warning right here or right now. Give it a pause, come back to us when you're done. If you're ready to continue, hop along with us. Last time, we left Matthew, James, Cordelia, and Anna in the Hellruel with a plan. Anna was going to seduce Hypatia Vex and steal her Pyxis that they would use to trap the Manticore demon responsible for the deaths and the injuries of Shadowhunters. So the catch is that Cordelia has been asked to perform. Never want to shy away from a challenge in a time of need, Cordelia puts on a captivating performance of words and sword dance. Just a distraction needed for Anna to get the job done. Though Hypatia is not the only one distracted, I will say that. When Charles Buford appears on the scene, Matthew has to go deal with his brother, and James and Cordelia make themselves scarce, and they find themselves alone in the Whispering Room. At first, the kiss is meant for a ruse when they hear others approaching their hiding spot, but soon they find they cannot deny the passion and desire between them. Their heated makeout session is only ended when Matthew comes to fetch them. And Anna's job is finished. She tosses them the Pyxis and is like, bye, guys. Meanwhile, Lucy, Thomas, and Christopher's task is
Is her
spying
job
on the
actually
Enclave.
finished? She was like, I'm going back for seconds.
Yeah, that's true. The job was not entirely finished. She was like, okay,
I
well,
was
this
like-
would be
I was like,
suspicious
I'm
if
gonna
I leave now,
stay.
so I'm gonna just stay here. Yeah, have fun, guys. Anyways, Lucy, Thomas, and Christopher are spying on the Enclave through the room above, kind of echoing that same way that Will, Jem, and Tessa did in the Infernal Devices. And they learn that the ailment caused by these demons is contagious, transferred by bite or scratch. So all these injured Shadowhunters have been moved to the Silent City for the safety of everybody, and the Shadowhunters are going to start patrolling the streets. But for now, London is under quarantine as far as the Shadowhunters are concerned, until they understand the situation and what they're truly up against. Our Shadowhunter group rendezvous at the Devil Tavern to compile their intel, and then they realize one tiny major flaw in their plan. What if the Pyxis has a demon inside of it already? What then? Uh-oh. So after some debate, they relocate to the sanctuary and they open it up. They open up the Pyxis and so they can potentially kill whatever demon might be inside in this like controlled, safe area. Of course, who would happen upon their shenanigans but Magnus Bane. Woo! Our favorite.
Magnus motherfucking
Magnus
Is
Bane.
back.
He is back from Jakarta and he has questions, but also isn't sure he wants to know. Anyways, he says he came to meet with Will and Tessa about this daylight demon situation, but his early arrival is perfect timing to help our heroes capture the Manticore. Our band of Shadowhunters fight the Manticore on Tower Bridge, and the battle ends suspiciously quickly until the Manticore bursts free from the Pyxis. It's giving Pokemon, like when Pokemon level is really high and you can't capture with your standard Pokeball, you know? But it's worse because when it breaks free, it's like somehow bigger. It grabs James and
It'll
speaks
kill
to
you.
him.
The Pokemon
Yeah, it
won't
grabs
kill
James
you.
and it speaks to him, saying that he knows his mother and his grandfather, and he can end the scourge if only James will come with him. So Cordelia intervenes. I'll get a job, leave him alone. And yep, she slices through the darkness with Cortana, and the Manticore strikes out and sends her flying into the Thames. It claims that it's rooted deep in another world and it can't be killed here, before, poof, just disappearing. Lucy's the first to rush after Cordelia. She calls for help and enters the river herself, only to be met by an army of ghosts that carry Cordelia to the riverbank. Cordelia is alive, and Lucy is weak as she strains to reach her future Parabatai. She does make it to Cordelia's side with the help of Jesse Blackthorn, who she believes called the ghost to save Cordelia from the Thames. Back at the Institute, Will is not entirely convinced at this story that Christopher's new device caused a Manticore to appear, and all 6 of them were like conveniently prepared to kill it at this time. Nonetheless, they're all safe. Matthew, Christopher, Thomas accompany Cordelia back home. All good, all good. But Cordelia, as she comes to, she starts to worry about Cortana, as we learned of her really deep connection to the sword in days past. So James shows up with the sword in hand, and Sona leaves them alone to talk, and they finally get a chance to discuss what happened between them in the Whispering Room. He starts to explain that he doesn't feel for Grace the way that he does for Cordelia, but then Alistair opens the door, Sona thinks it might be appropriate for them to be alone, but Alistair does not think that. He is very suspicious of James, his attentions, and the two argue over Cordelia's well-being, which leads to her finding out eventually about her father's alcoholism that Alistair and Sona have hid from her entire life. We also later learn that Sona is pregnant, so there's a lot of Carstairs family drama coming up through this. Yeah, good times. We'll talk about that some more. Lucy is in her room with the two ghost Jessies until girl ghost Jessie is dismissed. Not by choice.
Not the girl ghost Jessie.
Both ghost Jessies. You were right.
Both ghost
Right.
Jessies.
I had that thought at some
There.
point too. I was like,
You're
oh, they're
right.
both Jessies.
And I mentioned this, but keep going.
We ran into it last time, and we were like, we can't call
I
Jessie
can't
Jessie
just
anymore.
refer to Jessamine as Jessie anymore.
Yeah, and we can't even say like ghost Jessie because they're both
They're
ghosts.
both ghosts.
It's gonna have to say Jessamine.
Yeah, it's Jessamine now and Jessie. So, anyways, the two ghost Jessies are here, and then girl Jessie Ghost gets dismissed, not by her choice, but then boy Ghost Jessie reveals that he actually answered Lucy's call for help at the Thames, not the other way around. She's the one who summoned these ghosts. She has this unusual power to command them, which we do remember a little bit about from the Emmanuel Gas situation here. So Lucy asks about Jessie's locket that she saw him touching, and she learns that it contains his last breath. And she also learns how he died from his first runes, and that this last breath was preserved by Tatiana in hopes that she could revive him someday. But Jessie says that he believes that this last breath could be used to revive someone, and he thought Lucy might have been drowning in the water, and he would have used his last breath to save her. So we're done with Jessie for a minute. Go away, Jessie. Go join girl ghost Jessie. Yeah.
Both ghost Jessies can go away.
Yeah, they can. For now. So James, Christopher, and Matthew are gonna go get mallows root from Chiswick Greenhouse because that's what Christopher needs for his antidote. And then they're stopped by core demons that are just waiting outside Matthew's house. It's terrible. But Oscar, the best boy, comes to the rescue. He comes in, and then Christopher still gets injured though during this. And then Charles and Alistair arrive, and Alistair takes Christopher over to the Silent City, where everybody else is getting treated. So Thomas goes then to get the mallows root from Chiswick to finish Christopher's recipe. He goes with Lucy, and Lucy gets a little bored. She goes exploring, find Jessie's body in a shed. Really kind of creepy. And Grace is just there talking to him, his corpse. It's preserved very well, so he's as he was when he died, but it's still a whole kind of creepy thing. And this demon emerges while Grace is talking to Jessie, and Lucy springs from her hiding place to protect Grace. Grace is surprised that Lucy's here, first of all, and then that she can see Jessie. So Lucy senses James is in danger, and she commands Jessie to take her to Highgate Cemetery, the way the ghosts travel. Why is James in Highgate Cemetery? Great question. So Matthew, James, and Cordelia went to the Silent City following a note from Jem, except only Jem didn't summon them. And it's definitely the work of something evil, because when they get there, the sick all rise from their beds and call to him. Again, really creepy. So they're like, the demon prince, the Lord of Themes, is summoning you. Your grandfather wants to speak to you. And when Jemariah does appear, he's like, this is not good. You better leave. Go away. And so James is like, all right, this is enough. We've had this happening. These weird things have been happening to me a lot. The Manticore keeps talking to me. Now the dead, not the dead, the sick are talking to me, rising up from their beds and talking to me.
Almost dead.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I gotta go meet this guy and settle
meet
this.
my grandfather.
Exactly.
Family
I gotta go meet with
reunion.
my grandfather,
Family
confront my
reunion.
past. Family reunion. This is some Gotta deal with my ancestors here. And so he goes through the gateway to meet with his grandfather. Before he does, though, Matthew ties a rope to his waist and tells James that if they need to pull him back, that he should tug on the rope 3 times. James is like, sure. And then he enters the gateway. So he finally meets his grandfather, who we learn is Belial, the demon who is stealing realms from other demons. And he needs James as his host. So, and he repeats his offer that, all of this will stop. All the Shadowhunters will stop getting attacked. The Manticore will be put to rest. All that will go away if James just does what he wants. And we leave him there in the Shadow Realm for the end of the chapter.
Oh.
Yeah.
Dun dun dun.
So, Where do we
Yeah.
start?
Lots happened.
Lots happened. Indeed. We should start in the whispering room.
Okay.
The
As we did.
whispering room.
The whispering room.
I remember, I know you guys probably remember, when I was reading it, 2 weeks ago, it was also when you guys were streaming on your other channel. And I
Yes.
was, like, updating you on my immediate thoughts in the chat. And you were, when I had said that I was, like, screaming, crying, missing my flight, you were like, I know where you are.
Ah, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Ah, yes.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, the whispering room is the fierce midnight of infernal
It
devices. It's the same thing. Yeah, it's the steamy
I
moment.
Steamy.
I said to you, I think it was when you guys had to cancel last week, I was like, they were doing more than whispering.
They were
There was a lot
doing
more
more
than
than whispering.
I don't know that they were doing any whispering.
Listen, like, quick thinking to be like, we gotta cover our faces somehow, so that way they're not like, what are these Shadowhunters doing? And, like, it's awkward
it's
to
not,
just,
like,
like, walk
making
in on people
glamour.
making out. Like, the reaction is not, hey, how you
Right.
guys doing? The reaction
They
is,
can't, and they
okay.
can't glamour because the downworlders or demons, whoever there is there,
Would see through it.
be able to see right through it.
Exactly, so I understand why that was the default conclusion, but
But also, like, James was just looking for an excuse to kiss Cordelia.
yeah, James was like, this is nice. I'm not going to stop now. I'm just gonna...
And they almost took it a step further.
Almost.
Almost.
If
Listen,
Matthew
he was
didn't
looking
walk
at
in
them
and just
legs,
was a
and now he's
cock
touching
block,
them legs.
Mm-hmm.
Matthew, the
Matthew
cock block
ruined the moment.
Fairchild.
It's fine.
Are you even parabatai if you don't cock block your parabatai? It's fine.
No.
Yeah.
You were not.
Exactly. Yeah.
It'll be Cordelia or Lucy's turn next.
Yeah.
Right,
Cordelia
yeah.
put on this
Lucy
really...
would be horrified. Lucy would be like, so that's what happens after kissing.
But then she would, like, smirk and be like, I knew it.
We stand Lucy
Oh,
Herondale
yeah.
in this house.
And then Cordelia, the typical, he was only kissing me because, distraction. He doesn't actually like me.
Oh, he doesn't actually love me. He couldn't.
Always.
How am I going to protect my father from the mortal sword and the glaive?
Listen, I get James being confused on how he could have supposedly loved Grace, but it didn't feel like he feels for Cordelia. I get that. He's got to
Yeah.
stuff out.
His poor brain has been messed
Poor
with
brain.
quite a bit.
It is not developed.
Nah. And yeah, the whole bracelet thing, his brain is it's been in a little bit of a blender situation going on, and it's not, yeah.
Yeah.
And also,
he's
like,
confused.
yeah. It's not like he has
His-
friends who are in love that he can talk to about it too, to realize that things aren't normal.
He might.
I mean, he sees his mother and father's relationship,
Thomas,
but
that's true.
it's an adult relationship too. Like they're
Right,
parents,
it
and
functions
I'm not
differently.
saying Thomas is a healthy love, but it might be love.
Hmm?
Thomas is in love.
Thomas. Oh, right. That's true. I forgot about that.
But that's also not necessarily healthy at the
That's
moment.
why I
No.
said that. I said it may not be
Yeah.
a healthy love, but it might be love.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Um,
I don't know if any of our current ships look incredibly healthy,
No,
but it's fine.
not yet.
I would say James and Cordelia is the most healthy, which isn't even that healthy. So that's
Yeah, they're
saying a
probably
lot.
closest to it. But there's
Yeah.
the whole lack of communication thing and the,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I pulled this quote that James said about loving and being, not with Grace anymore. And he said everything is sharper and clearer. Colors and textures are different. And I was kind of like, it's almost as if he was blinded by Grace, and now that she's gone, he's seeing everything the way he always should have.
exactly. Like, it's interesting how he says that he feels, like, dulled in some way,
Yeah. I put a quote for Cordelia, so that she
Ooh.
didn't love James because he was beautiful. He was beautiful because she loved him, and then, it's
Okay,
very.
but James is
and that's
also
giving-
default beautiful, so, like,
I've heard
you
Right.
know.
a similar quote like that
Like,
before,
listen,
and
he
I
grew
can't-
into his lanky body. And everyone was like, forget
I've heard
Goatface,
of-
now he's handsome.
I've heard a very similar quote to that. I don't love you. You're not beautiful because I love you. I love you because you're beautiful or whatever. I cannot figure out where from. I have to look this up now.
And I'm not saying I love the quote either. It sounds to me very like it's giving the childhood friends, the childhood infatuation.
Mhm.
We get that from it of this trope is going to be the childhood friends to lovers if it pans out.
Right.
But interestingly, not Matthew and Lucy. Like
Nope.
they don't seem to follow the same, logics
That
and things
all
here.
collapsed when Lucy was like, "You drunk, buddy?" And Matthew was like,
Throw it all out the window. Yeah.
"Exactly." And we're done
That's
with that.
Yeah. Unfortunate.
It is unfortunate. Matthew.
But yeah, I wrote down that in the whispering room, like that Cordelia is like, she didn't want to be careful, she wanted it shattering and tremendous. And I was like, oh, it's giving the catastrophically in love with like it's that level of drama and passion. And
I figured out where I've heard that, and I will discuss it later because it is not relevant right now.
Fair enough. Oh man.
Anyway, back to the podcast.
Listen, I love me some good YA spice. Whispering Room. It's good.
It is.
I love
some
how
good YA
if we're
spice.
I was focusing on finding out, but if we're still talking about the whispering room, I was like, James, just kiss already, and then I was like, okay, I was joking, but go off, James.
Yeah.
Listen, James.
He did.
James is a horny Herondale. He is one of the hornier Herondales. It's a
That's
thing.
fair.
It's a thing. Listen,
You
we'll have
get
things
it.
to talk about when we get to Shade of Thorns.
I got things to talk about all these characters, especially Matthew.
Ugh,
Oh, Matthew.
poor
I love
Matthew.
my boy. I love him.
I want to give him a hug.
I know. I just want to bundle him up and like.
I have things
They're
I
there.
want to talk about with him.
Exactly. Like Matthew needs therapy, my friend. Like Matthew
Oh,
has
so
this
much.
great support system. And it's infuriating because all he needs to do is open up. Like he can talk to James, he can talk to Thomas, he can talk to Christopher, the rest of the Merry Thieves about this. And they would never judge him. They would never hate him. They would like listen and hear him out. And like even the adults in his life, like even Charlotte, even Henry would listen, But he's isolating himself and he's doing exactly the thing that he was told not to do.
So speaking of Matthew's support system, Cordelia sort of calls Matthew out into drinking, right? And I
Yeah.
kind of had this thought. I was like,
Or Lucy, right?
Lucy calls
Was
him
it-
out.
Lucy
It is
calls him out
Lucy.
when I was drinking.
oh, well, no, I think Lucy calls him out, and then Cordelia has some sort of thing about she's noticed it too.
She's noticed it,
She
but
might
she
have
hasn't
noticed
confronted it to his face.
Okay, well, that my note was about Cordelia noticing it, so that's why I said that. James, does James know about Matthew's drinking? He has to, right? Because like, I feel like it would be a pretty bad parabatai if he didn't know.
He notices.
I think everyone's at
But
the
he
point
hasn't
where
said
they
anything.
notice, but
Yeah.
it's one of those things that the way that Matthew's alcoholism is portrayed is that, it's slowly and then all at once. Like, it starts as little things that people notice, but it's fine because it's just Matthew having a good time. But
Mhm.
then, it's taking longer. And, like, Matthew's able to function well while
Mhm.
drunk. And that's, like, part of alcoholism, is being able to, like, front normally while drinking. And Matthew very much has that. And it's hard when you're a person who's close to somebody who's struggling with alcoholism, where there's this experience of helplessness and like
Mhm.
confusion, because it's like by the time you notice it's a problem,
Right.
and there's no good way to handle it, especially in this situation where they're all children.
Yeah.
And so it's like, how do they, I don't think it's not that they don't want to help them, or that they don't notice it's a problem, but
They
it's
just don't know how.
exactly, there's this loss of agency watching somebody that you care about suffer and not knowing how to help them, and they're all kind of stuck in that spot where it's a problem, it's becoming a worse problem, and they're all
Yeah.
aware of it, but they're also not in this place where they're going to.
Matthew just
talk
needs to
about it.
let it all out, have a good cry, and he'll feel better.
Matthew does need a good cry. I concur.
He needs to tell his mom and his dad what happened. They'll be
Mhm.
upset, sure, but they'll just be more upset that Matthew felt like he had to hide it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But as a child, he doesn't,
Oh, believe me, I
doesn't
get
see
it.
this for.
As a child who has probably done similar
Exactly.
things of hiding things, I'm sure we all have.
Yeah. It's a running theme here, and conveniently, Charlotte and Henry are going to be stuck in
Idris.
Idris for
Ever.
who knows how long.
I want Charlotte and Henry. I miss them.
I miss them too.
Yeah.
I
So
miss
now
Mom
we
and
get
Dad.
Charles Buford.
Fucking Charles Buford.
Charles Buford.
We were
You were
so
supposed to be-
excited for you.
You were supposed to be a sweet, sweet boy, and you've turned into someone we don't like. Your
Mhm.
parents would be so disappointed in you.
I just think of Charles Buford and I just get sad.
It's just disappointing.
It is so disappointing. The best of intentions, man.
Yeah.
He just sucks.
I
Exactly.
don't have many notes on him. This
I don't
this
either. It just every time that
It's
he
just kind
comes
of
up,
like
I'm just like
Charles
Charles.
Buford.
Charles Buford.
Yeah. Exactly.
But we had a lot of history repeating itself this part
Oh.
Yeah.
with Pyxis' Pyxi. What would be
Yeah.
the
I don't know.
More than one Pyxis.
spying on the Clave meetings through the attic and
Mm-hmm.
That was
in
good.
the same room.
Yeah. And Lucy mentions
I
that she
literally
learned
was
it
like-
from,
yeah.
you know, didn't she learn it from Will?
I think my note said, like father,
Mhm.
like daughter.
Mhm.
Yep.
That's a sweet.
But-
moment.
She did.
Will would be so afraid if he knew that his kids were opening a Pyxis after everything that happened with Ella.
They have a moment where they
Mhm.
worry
They
about
really
that
reflect on that. Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
There's
I
a
had written
moment.
that before that sort of came about.
Mhm.
Yeah. Exactly.
Will would have feelings about it.
He would.
And I think it was the last group of chapters where Will's talking, where he has that reflection where he was the kid who like couldn't tell the Clave anything and was doing it all on his own, but then now he is the Clave and he still can't do anything to like make them
Yeah.
see. And I thought that was like a really good moment to have because we're
You
seeing
go
that.
into
It
some,
is.
you go into a position of power hoping you can change things, but change doesn't happen overnight.
Exactly.
Even if it has been a few years, it's the Clave. They're stubborn old people who don't want to befriend downworlders.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
Bless the owl.
They didn't hear that, but yeah, I did sneeze.
Well, I did. Allie sneezed.
Thank you.
I didn't realize you muted yourself.
I do that, but I do it through OBS and not through Discord.
Okay, well, I'm sorry.
So if you hear me being loud and obnoxious, they're probably not hearing that. It's just driving you crazy.
Another
They heard nothing.
something else about history repeating itself. Magnus Bane coming to save the day.
Magnus motherfucking
Miss
Bane.
Bane.
I am so happy Magnus is back. I was wondering when he was going to come back because I'm like, we can't have a book series without Magnus. We just can't.
My
You're
favorite
right. Like, if
Magnus
it wasn't a
Bane
matter of
is-
if, it was just when.
Mhm.
My favorite Magnus Bane scene has yet to happen. It's in Chain of Thorns. The beginning
Oh
of Chain of
gosh,
Thorns
it's
is
gonna
my
be a
favorite
while.
bit with Magnus. So it's gonna be a minute,
That's
but
funny.
it's hilarious. Jenny knows the one I'm talking about. Just like the whole situation is great.
I just love Magnus being like, how do I always get myself wrapped into these situations?
Yeah.
Magnus
He's not
like,
surprised anymore.
do I want to
Just-
know?
Yeah.
And like he considers Will and Tessa friends, so he's like, at what point do I need to tell them about what their spawn are getting up to?
He warns them a few times. He's like, "All right, if this is gonna be, I am going to tell your parents." And they're like, "Yay! Okay." But yeah, and it's funny
Magnus is
because
like, you tell your parents or I will.
he is exactly like that. It's funny when he arrives. He says something about like, "Oh, James, continuing in the Herondale bullshit I see." He doesn't say it in those words, but
But yes.
he says the
Where
same
I
thing.
wrote down another thing.
Oh, I
about
love how
Magnus
Matthew was
that I-
starstruck by Magnus Bane.
Oh, he is.
Matthew was like, the Magnus Bane? And Magnus is like, oh.
Yeah, we could talk about waistcoats all day.
All day.
I don't remember where I wrote it down, but oh god, hold on, I gotta find this. Keep going because I wrote something about Magnus that I was like, he's iconic, and I cannot find it in my notes.
Listen, I would read a novella of Magnus and Matthew just like doing things and having adventures and talking about waistcoats all day. I would read the shit out of that.
Yeah,
That is my kind of beach episode nonsense that I am living for. Someone write that and then tag me, because I will read it. And I will be so thrilled.
yeah.
The friendship we deserve to see on screen. Listen, they say don't meet your heroes, but I disagree. I think that Matthew should meet his.
I found what I was looking for.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I think it was with whatever plan that they were doing. I don't know. But Magnus is like, well, good luck. And straight up was like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah. Don't include me. I'm out
He
of
gets
this
involved
one.
anyway. But he was like, yeah, no. Bye.
Exactly. This reeks of Herondale bullshit, and I am unsubscribe. I'm done.
And it's so interesting that Matthew was like enamored by Magnus and magic.
I think it makes sense. I think that Matthew as a flamboyant and queer character,
Yes,
and Magnus being another flamboyant and queer character in a time period that is not, openly so, I definitely see why Matthew has that sort of hero worship
for
towards
Magnus, yes, but I think because I wrote this down, I was like, for magic, it's a little odd for me because wasn't it technically magic that with all that happened with his mom and the potion?
That's an
Yeah.
interesting,
I mean,
interesting thread to pull.
So if he's so enamored by magic, but then this magic, I don't know, maybe you could argue it's not magic, but I'm considering it magic for the purposes of this, comparison. Magic is what basically is causing him all this pain.
I think that there is a loss of interest. That's like there's still interest. It doesn't mean he would be like pursuing it.
Well, I don't know,
You
because
know.
James says that Matthew has always been like very interested in magic.
Mhm.
So, just something I thought was interesting.
Matthew has a fascination
Yeah.
with the taboo, with what is
Maybe.
considered taboo in Shadowhunter culture. Because he's also very into the arts, and very
Mhm.
into these things that Shadowhunters don't do. And I think
Yeah.
that magic becomes wrapped up in part of that. But it's
Yeah.
interesting that
I would
he's
agree.
still, wrapped up. You would think that there would be some
Hesitation.
hesitancy, surrounding magic after that. Yeah. Interesting take.
Maybe. I mean, I will look at it in a lens of, well, if you are involved in a sport, a whatever
sport
sport ball, whatever sport ball you're in, a lot of times people get injuries. You get injured severely sometimes too. Does that mean that you stop loving the sport just because you got injured? Not necessarily. It doesn't mean you might not play that sport ball again. Maybe, but there's still an admiration perhaps for that thing, and that's kind of how I saw
I can see where you're
this
coming from.
relationship. Matthew has this fascination with magic and arts and all these things, even though he can't do them, and even if he's not involved in them. And yes, he got burned very badly this one time, but there's still a deep interest and fascination for the thing.
Maybe there's a desire to understand why, too.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some seek for understanding. And also, a lot of the magic in the Shadowhunter world is flashy and beautiful. And it's all these things that, Matthew is intrinsically drawn to. So,
Yeah.
Good talks about Matthew.
And
good talks about Matthew.
Matthew.
I could talk about Matthew all day. This is now the
which
Matthew
I agree.
Which he didn't do a terribly a lot amount in plot terms, but good.
No,
yeah,
but
it's
he's
good that
always
we can...
just kind of there in the background. And we
Yes.
see that he kind of likes Cordelia.
He
was also
hard-righted
watching
from Lucy.
And also maybe
he was like, all right, Lucy sees my alcoholism. Can't do that anymore. Cordelia is also a convenient woman.
Listen, is it a Cassandra Clare book if there's not a love triangle involving Parabatai?
Great question.
You're right.
Yes, because I
Still
don't
looking
think...
for the incest subplot.
Well, no. I was gonna say I don't think more Lynchmans, but I would argue that it does have a love triangle involving.
Yeah,
but we'll get
Alec
to that.
loves Jace. What do you mean? There's no
It's
Parabatai
just not
love
it's not a
triangle.
typical stereotypical love triangle.
Yeah, and then obviously Simon. Spoilers, but that also becomes a different love triangle.
Yeah, but that's not a
Parabatai.
Parabatai love triangle.
Technically, but
yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like they're setting it up to maybe be Parabatai love triangle situation
Mhm.
happening here. Obviously James is in the lead right
which
now.
just makes
but...
me
yeah.
Yeah.
curious to know Matthew may not end up with anyone. He may not, which he has to, though, because we know the Fairchild line continues.
Listen, in Cassie Clare books, I start
Well-
getting scared for the people who do not get paired off. Because those are the people who die. So, that is my...
I was gonna say I'm getting worried about Christopher. Because he's kind of
That's
seemed-
also fair. He's
Not
sick
that
now.
He's not
He's
important.
now.
Yes. Not that he's not important, but he hasn't had any romantic plot points of that yet.
Exactly.
It feels too early for him to die.
That's also fair. It is only book 1. Yeah.
Um,
He's
we had to get
sick
a little
now,
more
so
attached.
he's in danger.
No,
And
what
we
I was
have
saying about
killed
Matthew,
people. I mean, we killed Barbara. We killed Thomas's sister.
what I was
Yeah.
saying about Matthew was the Fairchild line we know continues on. So technically it could be Charles Buford, but what we know about Charles Buford, that wouldn't make sense.
Well, I mean,
Charles
he's
Buford-
willing to
Charles
marry a
Buford ain't
woman
getting
and
laid.
do his marital duty.
he
You know.
is
Okay,
willing,
but I'm hoping that Clary is directly related to Matthew and not Charles Buford, because that would make me happier.
I mean, we don't know.
We don't.
We don't know. And then, like,
also, I
Charlotte
don't
and
think
Henry could
Matthew's
also
gonna-
have more children, you know? Henry's still getting it. Like,
I kind of thought that they implied that Charlotte can't have any more children after the incident.
I didn't read it that way. I read it as, okay, so, realistically, these people would be having a lot more children. Like,
Yes.
just time
It'd
period
be a
wise.
Bridgerton-sized family.
It would be a Bridgerton-sized family. Yeah. So I don't know what methods of Shadowhunter birth control like are happening for these people to only have like 2
Either
kids, but
I'm hoping that Matthew ends up with a very nice girl. Or a boy. But probably girl. Because we need the Fairchild line to continue.
we'll have to wait and see.
Again,
Again, we're worried about the unpaired person dying.
we are worried
but
about
like
the
with
unpaired.
Matthew being the Perpetai, I highly doubt that Cassie Clare would pull a Gem Mariah two sort of series in a row.
2.0. Ugh.
And
I
they're
hope
both
not.
Sonic brothers haunting their
Technically,
parapet.
this series wasn't written right after Infernal Devices. It's
It's
next
not.
in the timeline, so like I doubt she would do that again.
Yeah. Only one Gemariah. We only have room for one.
Deus Ex Jemariah.
Speaking of pairings and relationships, let's talk about Lucy and Jesse because
Boy,
there's some
Jesse,
stuff
just
happening
clarify.
there.
Ah, yes. Boy goes Jesse.
Lucy and Jesse Blackthorn.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a thing. He's here.
So we find out that Lucy's a straight up necromancer.
Yeah.
Lucy,
Surprise!
Lucy just she can command ghosts to do
Forget
things.
seeing dead people.
And
she commands
She
the
used
dead
that
people.
ability to command Jesse to take her to the demon realm. Is that what we're calling it?
She demands him to take her to the cemetery where James, Matthew, and
Oh,
Cordelia
He
are
was there after that.
doing. Yeah.
Doing
Either way.
their different
He says that
necromancy.
it's like that typical like you're using your power on me, on this person that you love. Like how dare
Oof,
you?
yeah. And Jesse
was
is
not-
furious.
Yeah,
It
it was
is
not
not-
great.
Yeah,
Lucy doesn't like doing it, but she sees it as the only way.
exactly. Because Jesse was like,
And
"No, I'm not doing
speaking-
that. I don't know what the consequences to you are going to be." Like,
No.
no. And then she commands
We
him.
mentioned
It's-
Jesse's backstory a little bit in the summary, but I have something I want to have a prediction about Jesse.
Yes.
So, my prediction about Jesse and the reason why he died when he got his first rune is that Tatiana did something to make Jesse sick so he would never become a Shadowhunter, the thing she hated. Almost like Munchausen by proxy syndrome, and that's why he was sickly and died after getting his first rune.
Interesting take.
Obviously, I
I
have no
don't
basis for this
remember
theory,
if that's true or not. Actually, personally, I don't remember. But that
but
is an interesting
Tatiana
theory.
hates Shadowhunters.
She
I highly
does.
doubt
So-
she'd want her son to become a Shadowhunter.
Did she always hate Shadowhunters?
I thought she hated
Well,
them after everything that
after,
happened with her dad.
I guess it might have been, yeah. After
And
that.
Jesse would have been born after that, so.
That's fair. And she was resistant to him getting his runes because he was sickly and all these things.
Why was he sickly?
Yeah.
You know, it's
Good-
not
good
like
question.
Tessa
Good theory.
and her mom were, you know what I mean? Like Tessa's mom and what was her name? The Starkweather girl? Adele? No.
I don't
Yeah. I think
You know
I think you're
what
right.
I mean about them being switched.
Right.
Right.
Mayhaps.
I don't think that's what happening here. So
Okay.
We'll have to
Yeah,
see
you
what
don't think that
happens
we're
there.
repeating the switcheroo baby situation,
The
right?
changeling
We'll have to see what
situation.
happens, but I think that, and if that's not what happens, I'm gonna rewrite it. So that's what happens because I think it's a really good plot point.
My plot is better than Cassie Clare's plot, so I'm just gonna.
Listen, tell me you guys don't think it's an interesting take.
No, I think it's a good take.
It's interesting.
I think it's.
I have
I
an
think it's
interesting alternate ending to the series that I'll talk about when we get there. But listen, I love me
Okay.
some rewrites of interesting plot threads.
Listen,
that need
this
to be
is what
told.
fanfiction is for. We all know.
Exactly.
It is.
We love fanfiction.
You do.
But yeah, so Lucy uses her power on Jesse Blackthorn to command him to take her to the cemetery, and it's like
That's
breaks
definitely
that
gonna do great
trust.
things for their relationship.
Yeah.
Budding as it may be.
Yeah.
Right.
But,
After he was all like, I would have used my last breath to save you, too.
Mm-hmm.
James
I
is also the
command you.
one.
Mm.
Gross.
James is also the one who. Not James. I keep saying James. Oh my god, there's too many J names. Jenny and I talked about this last night. Cassie Clare loves a J name.
She does. Yeah.
There's Jem, Jesse, James,
Just me.
Jocelyn, Jace, Jonathan.
Jesus Christ.
There's so many. And Jessamine.
Yep. Julian. And
Julian.
She loves the J
yeah,
name.
so there's just so many. So many.
Jesse is the one that saves Cordelia in the lake. And I'm just like, this is like a stereotypical, like, saving the love of your life from drowning, but it's not your love, it's your love's peripety. Her love's his love's best friend.
Arguably her other love of her life. You know?
Yes. But not Jesse.
Exactly. Not the romantic love of her life.
Yes.
Yeah. And Lucy did not think, Lucy thought that,
Jessie
she did not know
was
she was
wrong.
commanding
Very
them,
well.
you know? Yeah.
She just thought she was asking for help and they answered. But no, she was like commanding them to help.
Yeah, she thought she thought that Jesse had commanded the other ghosts to help because he heard her call. But nope, Lucy was just like, "Help me," and all the ghosts were like, "Okay." If I must.
Also with Jesse, which you mentioned in the summary, that he was willing to give up his last breath to help Lucy survive, his last chance of living. And I said, more screaming, crying, almost missing my flight.
And then
That's
she turns right
definitely-
around with, "I command you."
Uh-huh. Ouch.
Heart break.
Ouch. Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like,
Boundary
Jesse...
issues.
Yeah, Jesse Blackthorn has been kind of a shit and just tugging at Lucy's pigtails for like a lot of this book, but then when he's earnest, he's like really
Mm-hmm.
in it, you know?
It's a good
He's
ship.
like, I would give up my last breath to save you. Like, okay. Where'd that come from? Yeah.
And then with Lucy, I know I keep talking about Lucy, but I really like her.
I love
She just says, she kind of just says screw it and stops being the lookout, and I'm like, Lucy, that's not how it works.
She really did.
Like,
She was
"I'm
just like,
bored."
I'm bored.
And I guess it kind of worked out for her in the end, and that she got some information that she didn't have, but also, like, that's not how it works, darling.
Lucy doesn't know how a lot of things work. It's fine. It's fine. We love Lucy here. We stand.
Lucy is the little sister
She
of
is.
the whole group. And I mean, she obviously James' little sister, and it shows. And it's funny because like when Magnus is always like, ah yes, James, continuing the Herondale bullshit tradition. Lucy's like, me too.
Me too.
Being
I'm
the little
also
sister
shenaniganing too.
and the little sister of this trio. Am I Lucy?
You are the little sister of
is true.
the group here in
It's
real
a different
life.
little
And
sister
yeah,
dynamic, though. I don't think it's quite the James Lucy dynamic. It's different.
it is different.
Not quite as like screw it. I'm not looking out anymore.
There's a little bit more
Um,
antagonism in this relationship.
Listen, don't dish it if you can't take it, right?
I can take it.
Are you saying I can't?
That is the implication.
You want to go? Is
I'll
Jenny
fight
going to be
you.
the moderator between us again? Is
Screw
Jenny
it,
going
I'm
to
out.
be like, break it up, children?
Jenny's done. Jenny's left her
I'm
post.
done
Jenny's
patrolling.
done
I'm
looking
going to
out.
go. I'm done looking out. I'm gonna go.
Jenny's like, I give up.
See.
I'm going to go have a glass
Yeah.
of wine.
Yes.
Ugh.
Oh.
What else do we have here? I
I
mean, we
that's what I
finally got
decided.
James learning about his grandfather.
Yeah, I was
That's
just
a
gonna
big
say
deal.
That's kind of a big deal.
That's what I was going to bring up now.
Like, we finally get a name drop for Belial, you know, and
Mhm.
that whole situation.
Mm-hmm.
You
And
know,
he wants to
this
steal
possession
the realm
plotline
for his
feels
own.
very Vampire Diaries.
I've not
I
seen
read
Vampire
those back
Diaries.
in the day. They're books.
There's like
that
multiple plot
exist.
points in that show, and it's spin-off shows about someone needing to possess somebody to use them as a host body.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's very supernatural type of content, like as a genre.
Oh yeah, yeah, it is. So
I do think
yeah.
that for a Shadowhunters book, this has a lot of, dips into the supernatural world that's interesting.
We've got
Like,
necromancy, we've got
Jesse's
body
home, yeah.
possession.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason why he wants James's body is because James has his blood and therefore can hold his form longer. Because Belial doesn't have... Other demons have human forms where they can live in the human world. But because he had such a fondness for the human world, he was punished in such a way that he no longer has a human form of his own. And he can't have just any mortal because they'll, like, burn up or whatever. So he wants to take James's form that can actually...
James is just like, yeah, I don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah. James is like, how about no?
Yeah,
But then
she's
guess
just
who
like,
shows up? Lucy.
Oh, that's right. Because Belial's like, well, I would prefer your form, but you're not the only one whose form I could take.
He said something about the second one.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And at first I was like, the second one, what's he talking about? Then I was like, oh, is he referring to Lucy?
Mm-hmm. Then doesn't he, like,
Lucy
summon
shows up?
her briefly?
Possibly.
I think so. But
Yeah.
Lucy goes there in the end
Lucy
of it.
goes there.
Oh.
In the
Yeah,
end
so
of
it could be
this
just like a
part.
they can see her now for a minute
Yeah.
or situation, and then that's a little bit more of a compelling case. Yeah, James is like,
Gotta protect the
He
little
would
sister.
do anything to protect his sister, his family.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Herondale bullshit.
This is why
Yeah.
we have the Herondale Boy
And
Support
it's-
Group.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. It's tempting that he can, it's always tempting to be able to just end all the bad things that are happening to the
Right.
people he cares about. And most heroes, there's some self-sacrificial element to them, and we're trying to see that of
There is,
like
yeah.
you can save everybody if you just offer yourself. It's never the thing is it's never the good
can save
solution.
everyone
We
but
know
yourself.
that, but
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah,
Her,
we're setting it
temptation
up
is
for
there.
that. Mm-hmm.
I always, there wasn't much that happened with Grace this set, but I still don't trust her.
That's fair.
Grace. She's
And-
just out here talking to her brother's corpse. It's fine.
Yeah, Grace says
Yeah.
something about, and then they have like an encounter, her and Lucy have an encounter with the demon afterwards, but Grace says something about the enchantment beginning to wear off on Jesse, and we already know that Tatiana made some sort of deal to keep Jesse in this sort of like half dead, half alive stasis.
Mhm.
So I'm wondering what that means.
What does that mean, indeed?
And like you see Grace, and this is probably the most humanizing we've seen her, of her talking to Jesse and being like,
That's true.
basically I need my big brother kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I still don't trust her.
Suspicious.
And then also with somebody that I don't necessarily trust, Alistair, we learn that their father is an alcoholic, which feels like it came out of nowhere, but I guess
Oh, that's right. We have all that Carstairs family trauma that we gotta work through.
it feels like
Yeah.
it came out of nowhere, and I'm like, I don't, like, something about it feels fishy that I'm like, should I believe this? But I don't know why it would be untrue.
So it's an
I mean, I
explanation
think
for
it's
the-
supposed to feel like it comes out of nowhere because we're supposed to see it
Right.
through Cordelia's
I
eyes. So
know.
I think that's
I
a
know.
fair feeling to have, that you're like, where did this come from? Because that's exactly how it is for Cordelia. Alistair's like, all this
but,
stuff, and Cordelia's like,
know,
what? Yeah.
If this, with all that being said, as much as I'm still not a big fan of Alistair, I do feel for him a little bit in that, like, no one should have to, hide this and do what he does and take care, basically be the man of the house because his father can't be.
Welcome to parentification.
And speaking of the Carstairs, someone's pregnant, and I'm scared because the last time someone was pregnant,
We got Charles Buford.
no, no, somebody gave them a potion that made them lose the baby.
That too.
And technically, we've had people be pregnant since then. or have we? Because not Anna, Cecily
Cecily.
has the baby,
Yeah, Cecily has a baby.
but like we didn't see that. So
Right. And the baby is already here. Like, right?
Right.
Alexander is here.
Alexander's
right.
here. I think
So
Alexander might have been
I don't know
shortly
if
after
Charlotte being pregnant
Charlotte's
was
baby.
before or after or around the same time, but we didn't see that, so I'm just like, it doesn't count.
Yeah, the issue is that Sona's doing this on her own, and Sona's under all the stress because her husband is,
Right.
you know, an
But my
alcoholic,
point is,
and this thing has
the
happened.
last time we found out someone was newly pregnant, it did not end up happy.
Right.
Oh. Generally. They're like, pregnant.
So I am afraid for Sona.
Yeah.
Though I do love Sona being like conspiring to get James and Cordelia together.
Yeah.
And her not caring that them being alone together and reputation wise and all that.
It's fine. Like, then they'll have to get married if they're getting up to shenanigans. And that's good for us, honestly.
Yeah.
And Alistair's like, no! Not my sister, Herondale.
Not in my house. Yeah.
I'm like, Alistair, you're kind of a hypocrite. With Charles Buford. But
You're right.
The tea.
The tea is hot.
But yeah.
Yeah, and then Cordelia
I'm
goes to
waiting
this.
for all these relationships between Alistair and Charles Buford to come to light. And even Thomas, because that's gonna... I feel like it's not gonna be a big deal as like I guess Alistair, or like, would it be afraid of, because like in the time period, yes, it would be a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But within the story, I don't think anyone's gonna care.
Within the story, we already have Matthew, who's openly queer, and we have Anna, who's openly queer. So
Yeah, so it's different, but not really.
Charles has no excuse to be an asshole about
And
being
we also have
gay.
Magnus, so like,
That's true. Well, I don't
Yeah.
think Magnus is as openly. He's flamboyant, but I don't think it's common knowledge that he...
but if you know
Those they
Magnus, you know.
That's fair.
Right.
Magnus is also
Like,
down
Will
rover,
and
so you know
Tessa?
standards are different.
Let's see. Will and Tessa obviously know. So Charlotte and Henry would obviously know. So they're not going to care about Charles. They're going to be like, cool. Alice,
Right.
I think Cordelia also would be like, whatever I mean, obviously we've seen Cordelia just wants her brother to be happy.
Right. I think that the concern from... Well, we see that Alistair doesn't have as much concern. He's like, well, why would it be terrible if we were to someday get married? I think
Mhm.
that Charles's concern is that the opinion of the Clave on the whole.
I was going to say, yeah.
Because he very much wants to follow in Charlotte's footsteps. And he is constantly in her shadow
the
because he
Clave
wants to be the consul
will
someday.
The Clave will take
Right.
any reason to say he's not fit to be in charge.
Exactly. And we know that that individual Shadowhunters can be progressive, but we know that on the whole the Clave is slow to move.
And even
So.
as we get into Mortal Instruments, it's still a thing that's frowned upon.
It is. And I think that, you know, on a meta level, I think that's just a result of... I think that the queerness of characters in this book is a result of, like, present-day society.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
And I think that, yeah, Shadowhunters back in 2012 was a result of, you know, gay rights becoming, like, gay people couldn't get married until, like, recently, within the last decade.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and the Shadowhunters, the Mortal Instruments is a decade of the time there.
Yeah,
But now
meta-wise,
we've-
yes.
Right. So meta-wise,
But I think-
that's the explanation. But we know that in
within
universe...
context of within universe, I think it also is just that the Clave does not like things that are different.
And yeah, the
They're
Clave
not
is not going to
stereotypical
smile upon it until...
Heteronormative.
Right. It's like 2008 when the Clave gets with the gays.
It's also maybe when the rest of the world gets with the gays.
Yeah, you're right. That's sad. Which, like, I have a lot of fun reading a historical fiction with queer characters. It brings me joy as somebody
We
who
have
is
to hide our
queer.
love.
And, huh?
We must hide our love.
Well, not even that. Like, there's open queerness in this, too. Like, we have Anna, who is very, you know...
I know. I meant in, like, some historical novels.
No, I'll rephrase. I like this specific historical fiction reading about openness in queer relationships in a historical context.
Mhm.
Because it's all the things that I love about historical fiction, all the fashion and all the, like, you know, the setting, but it also has the, you know, representation and feeling seen that is good.
Yeah, I also don't think it was as frowned upon by I don't know, like, I feel like in every historical drama or historical situation I hear of, it's like people did not think being gay was a bad thing or a wrong thing.
So the thing is, it's history's views and history's progressiveness very much operates in like a cycle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like we have ancient Greece, which like there was no word even for like heterosexual or like homosexuality, and it was just like a thing, like sleep with whoever you want, be horny for whoever you want. And then you have religious circles, sort of like the rise of Christianity being like, oh, man and woman, and then homosexuality is bad. And then you have, you know, the circle again. I think that we're seeing this particular circle in London. Matthew says it's recently after Oscar Wilde's death. And Oscar Wilde had been jailed for, like, indecency, I think. Where it's because of his queerness that he was jailed and all that fun stuff. So that's where we're at societally. With the IRL historical gayness timeline.
It makes for an interesting commentary.
It does. Indeed.
Do you have anything to add, Ginny?
Nope.
Ginny's been zoning out for the past 10 minutes.
I know. That's why I was kind of like, let's see if Ginny has anything to say. I was like, I feel like we're leaving her out.
Hi, Ginny. Welcome back to the conversation.
Hi, welcome back. No, I don't think I have anything new. Well, like the only point I had was about relationships that we've already kind of, or not the couples relationships really, but
We're in his tangent.
Like parasocial relationships.
No.
There are no parasocial relationships. Everybody actually.
What parasocial
I don't know.
relationships?
I have a parasocial relationship with Matthew Fairchild.
I said
With James Herondale.
I said the wrong word. I just meant like.
I said the wrong word.
Listen, I said this the other day. I am not the smartest one here.
It happens. It happens. It's okay.
It's alright.
We are just tugging your pigtails because it's fun.
I know. My metaphorical pigtails. It's what
Exactly.
Ali likes to do best.
Indeed.
It is.
In typical older sister fashion.
Yeah. Thanks. Even though you're,
I'm older than you.
No, that's not what I was gonna say. But it's not about. It's it's our other community.
I
was talking about how you're dad, but that's the other community.
That's the other community. Yeah.
I was like, I don't need to confuse people.
Anyway.
Speaking of Oscar Wilde, somewhat. Oscar, best boy.
The dog.
He does make an appearance. The dog.
We love the dog.
I was dog sitting this past weekend, and he's gonna be coming over for a sports ball tomorrow.
Bosco.
So I will see him tomorrow, Mr. Bosco boy.
Is the big sports ball tomorrow?
Yes.
Yes.
Cool.
It is. The big sports ball.
As a Swiftie, didn't you know that?
I do know that actually this time but I actually know it just because it's listed on my work schedule. It's like Super Bowl Sundays.
I was talking about
okay.
the teams who were
Cool.
playing, and it being the Chiefs versus the 49ers.
Yeah.
And I got asked, how do you know that? And I was like, literally because people only talk about it because of Taylor Swift all over social media.
True. Exactly.
Fair enough.
Listen, I'm invested in Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. Not gonna lie.
That's fine. But it's all people are talking about. So
It is. It's a lot.
It
I
is
think
a lot.
I've seen some like takes where, like, because of this, younger women are becoming more interested in the NFL, which is allowing them to like bond with their dads in ways that they
which is
couldn't
cool.
before,
Like,
which is really sweet.
I am not one of those people, but good for those who are.
Me neither. But
Yeah.
my dad asked me. He's like, "Oh, do you watch football now?" Or he's like, "Oh, did you see that Taylor Swift was that?" I was like, I mean, cool. No, I'm not watching football now, but
Sports ball.
I like college football. I got into that because I was doing marching band, though.
Yeah. I mean, it used to be on in my house, so I would like. I know how it works to some extent, but.
And then I will be probably reading up in my room.
I don't have cable.
Exactly. That's the other thing is whenever I went to college, I lost cable and I no, I'm not gonna follow sports now that I have my own TV and my
It's like, as many streaming services, we've basically recreated cable packages. I'm a little pissed off
Yeah.
about that globally.
pretty much.
We
Kind of
recreated the
terrible.
bad timeline. It's fine.
That
Yeah.
timeline. Anyway, 2
I
weeks.
guess this is a good place to wrap it up.
2 weeks will be part 4, the end of Chain of
Nice.
Gold.
Woohoo!
Yeah, we'll finish the book finally. Woo! Finish
book.
the one short book of the trilogy.
It
I've
only
got
gets
some
one
Chain of Iron
year.
sitting right here because I was building our reading schedule and I'm just looking at it. And look at that thick
Chunky.
boy.
Here, let me pull you. So I show you. You have Chain of Iron. I raise you Chain of.
There's where part 1 and part 2 happen. So,
Ouch.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
it's a great many pages. So
many pages.
we'll have to do our reading on time and write our summaries on time.
Oh, no.
And then learn
Of
how to talk
course.
fast like auctioneers to get through our summaries in a reasonable time frame.
I was trying
Yeah.
to get the book without knocking everything over.
Maybe
And I was
not
like,
this
This is
time.
not going well. So Chain of Iron, right? This is Chain of Thorns, everyone.
Yeah.
She thick.
Chonky.
It's also
She
real
thick.
thick. So we gotta pick up our reading pace and
Yeah. And we'll see you in 2 weeks.
read. See you then.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.